I want to start this video off by saying that I like Cult of the Lamb. This is a fun game with a wonderful art style, a simple but engaging gameplay loop while featuring a soundtrack that has become one of my favorites of all time. And I don't know how many times I've already used it as background music in my other videos. With that being said though, my relationship with this game is a little strange because before it was even out, it was one of my most anticipated titles of all time. Then it released and I enjoyed it, but over time my enthusiasm towards it slowly disintegrated and I started to see the cracks in its design more and more. In my original review of Cult of the Lamb, I was really critical towards it because I wanted it to be fantastic, but it ended up just being good. I don't think it ever gets bad, but I also think it never becomes great. Like the core base building part of making a cozy cult for a bunch of messed up animals with birds that have their beak in the wrong place is fun. But on the other side, the roguelike element is really shallow and everything is also filled with so much unnecessary fluff and pointless little buffs that do nothing but complicate the core gameplay loop. Over the last few years, I kept internally debating in my head if I liked this game, but in the end, I came to the conclusion that I find it consistently good. Not bad, but also never truly great. A high 3 out of 5, bordering 4. So what about the DLC? Is that any good? Well, you see, you can ride around on a little turtle. So just ignore every criticism I ever gave to this game. I need to choose that one. I need to get my faith up. Whoa. Wait. Whoa. Hey. What is he doing? Okay, you know what? Maybe all that Twitter art was onto something. I wasn't sure what to expect from Cult of the Lamb Woolhaven because I feel like most of the mechanics already got explored to its fullest in the base game. And after playing this DLC for 20 hours, fully completing it and obtaining every achievement, then yeah, it's pretty much exactly what I was expecting. Is it fun? Yes. Woolhaven is fun, but does it do anything brand new that throws a real wrench in the mix of things? Not really. This is a very safe DLC, where they just give you more of what was already there, but with a few new bells and whistles attached to it. The biggest new addition of Woolhaven is probably the inclusion of the winter season. Every few days, the season in your cult will change now, with winter adding a few extra challenges into the mix, like not being able to plant crops and having to maintain a furnace so that your followers don't turn into popsicles. But one of my main criticisms of the base game was how easy it is to maintain your cult, and while the winter season does make it a bit harder, I had so much food and resources stockpiled from the base game that it didn't really change how I approached the winter, even when it tried to forcefully take those resources away. Look at this, okay? Right here, when you meet this dog creature, the game wanted me to choose between losing all my food or 14 rot burn that I can get back in less than 10 seconds. Like, which one do you think I'm gonna choose, man? A changing season is a really fun idea conceptually though, but I've only ever seen 2 games that really perfected it. And in Woolhaven, it is fun, but it doesn't change enough mechanically for it to have a big impact. You're basically still doing the exact same things you were doing in summer, but now placing tiles on the floor is really annoying. In Don't Starve, for example, a winter has many activities and surprises for you in stock. Deer Club, walrus camps, freezing temperatures, long nights that drain your sanity, clouds, glaciers, and many more. Cult of the Lamb Woolhaven also has a few of these, like blizzards and wolf attacks, but they can be completely nullified quite early on without breaking a sweat. The most punishing one of these is probably the lightning strikes that can instantly kill followers, but again, it is so easy to counter. Just pay 60 rot burn at the furnace and you're golden, like that one song from that Netflix movie. The winter season and its mechanics aren't badly designed in the slightest, but I do feel like the devs are avoiding throwing punches, and it makes it so that you don't really have to think. Nothing to really worry about, which makes the overall experience pretty easy. Another thing that I was a bit disappointed in, again, were the Crusades. These were by far the weakest aspect of base Cult of the Lamb, since most encounters were you just spamming the attack button the second you got into a room. Woolhaven does introduce 2 new regions. Iwofall? I don't know how to pronounce it. A snowy mountain filled with bloodthirsty wolves. And my personal favorite one, the Ruts. An over-the-top, bloody, fleshy abomination where nothing makes any visual sense. I think both of these zones thematically are really, really goddamn cool. But gameplay-wise, it just runs into the same problems as the base game. It's shallow and you're just kind of going through the motions without using your brain. I like the idea of the crusade though, going on this trek, collecting resources for your cult, but man, the combat is just lacking, especially the bosses, man. Alright, first boss. Who do we got? A bass. Okay, it's like a wolf with a bunch of spears in his back. Alright, let's fight him. Okay, that was it. So far, though, I've been super critical towards this DLC. Not because I want to tear it into pieces or because I want to see it fail. I'm being super critical because I just care too much about it, man. Matter of fact, I'm a big fan of this game. I got so much Cult of the Lamb merch. I've attended their PAX Australia booth every single time. The Cult crown is in my goddamn YouTube banner. I never liked this game because of its mechanical complexity or difficulty. Not every game needs to be as grand as Don't Starve or Spelunky. I always liked it because of the sauce, man. So much passion and love oozing through its cracks, and Woolhaven just does not disappoint on this aspect in the slightest. You know, it's kind of funny that I'm reviewing a DLC called Woolhaven, and I haven't even mentioned Woolhaven itself. When you activate the DLC for the first time, a path near the entrance of your cult will open up that leads to, you guessed it, Woolhaven. You can kind of compare this place to a more fleshed out, like one of these locations, not sure what to exactly call them. Woolhaven is the main meat of the Woolhaven DLC pie though, I mean, of course it is. And here you do most of the story / narrative progression. You get to meet a ton of new NPCs in the form of these little lamb goats that give you different quests and rewards. They introduce ranching here, the main new cult activity where you raise cattle and shear them for wool, which is the main currency you use in the Woolhaven area. New decorations to buy, follower forms to unlock, Easter eggs to find, mini games to take part in, with the big standout being Flockable, a full fleshed out board game that I got way too sucked into. This is like rock, paper, scissors, but for autistic people like myself. And then of course the big one, narrative progression. I don't think the story of Cult of the Lamb is amazing or anything, but it is very charming, bringing you to all these picturesque areas where you encounter wacky characters and NPCs. Here's the thing, right? Almost no one I personally know played Cult of the Lamb for the gameplay, because it's nothing really to write home about. But if we're talking about the presentation, brother, 10 out of 10, and Woolhaven continues this to a T. This is an absolutely gorgeous yet absurd looking DLC, where the bosses look like over-the-top Frankenstein's creations. You might say they take it a bit too far, but I kinda like that about it. There is so much creativity and wild ideas on display here that I can't help but just love it. The Woolhaven area itself is also so damn pretty, man. It starts out as this lifeless ruin, but throughout your playthrough, you get to slowly build it up and life starts to creep back in. And I feel like I need to repeat myself. The gameplay of Cult of the Lamb and its DLC is never bad, okay? But it's also never fantastic. It's good at its best and serviceable at its worst. But this is kind of the point I'm trying to make. No one plays Cult of the Lamb solely for the gameplay. You play it for its presentation, the art, the vibes, the character designs, the music, which in this DLC is absolutely godly. It is so goddamn good. When I heard that Riverboy, the main composer of Cult of the Lamb, sadly passed away last year, yeah, that came as a big shock to me. This guy was so profoundly talented, and seeing his life be cut short is nothing more than a tragedy. Some of his songs thankfully still made it into the DLC though, like the Winter Cold music, and it sounds beautiful. And then to find out that Massive Monster put him into the game as a follower that doesn't work and just plays the flute all day, man, that's such a sweet and beautiful little tribute to an immensely talented person. Rest in peace, man. Fly high. In conclusion though, Woolhaven is good, but it does run into the same issues as the base game. I kinda wish they structured this DLC as a separate thing instead of attaching it awkwardly at the end of the base game, making it so that veteran players aren't hopelessly overprepared and overleveled. But again, the presentation is where this game shines the brightest, and I absolutely adore that about Cult of the Lamb. It might be shallow, but it's still charming as hell, so I give the DLC once again a high 3 out of 5 with a 2 in difficulty. A 3 means that I enjoyed it and I found it good. Please don't get your Metacritic ranking mixed up. Alright, a few quick nitpicks / changes I want to see before I end this video. Make the building a little less clunky, please. Continuously booting me out the mode is rather annoying. Bring the lobster follower form to PC because it looks really funny. And also, please add the Woolhaven soundtrack to streaming services plus Steam. I know this is a little complicated and I wouldn't mind waiting for a bit, but I would still love to see it in the future. And finally, subscribe and join my Patreon for $1, please. Okay, bye-bye.